Well, there's still a lot of things that we don't know about Geshe-la going missing 2 weeks now. But today I want to share with you something personally that I do know. And it is brought about and enhanced by his gone missing. Um, I'm part of a small interfaith group that has been meeting for about 3.5 years. We started surprisingly during COVID. We got an email from one of the members, the woman who wanted to start this group in our little town of Newport. She was from the Baha'i faith. She emailed the Abbey, and I was sent the invitation, which I was more than happy to respond to. I really love interfaith gatherings. And it took us about a year and a half to actually meet each other in person because we had done most of it over Zoom. And it was part of an opportunity to read books, to share our spiritual practice, our faith traditions, to discuss how our faiths basically grow our good qualities and discuss different views about the world. So this past year, we have lost 4 of our members. 2 of them have gone to the West Side to be with their children and grandchildren, and 2 that were just such a pivotal part of the group. 2 of our co-pastors at the local Lutheran church felt a very, very deep call after growing this beautiful congregation for over 19 years, the same time we got to be at the Abbey, that they both went to a new congregation in Oregon. So as a result of this, our little Newport interfaith group has a big hole in it. And so it's got to be a little tenuous, and there was actually a discussion last month or so of maybe we don't need to be doing this anymore. And so some of us said we need to keep doing this. It had some benefit, not just to us, but to our community. And so part of this, we wanted to revive and refresh our motivation on why this what was brought together in the first place, even though the person who had started had left. So one of the things that we did during this our past 3.5 years is that in the spring of 2021, after the election, so we're still in COVID, President Biden has been elected. And soon after that, we start seeing some fairly unfriendly, scary flags and signs in our community, basically telling the world under no uncertain terms that they're not very happy with the electoral process. And it got to be the point that one of our meetings we said, there's got to be a way that we can counter this anger, this hate, this suspicion, this conspiracy theory of the election being stolen. And we wanted to do it in a way that it would connect people. So it took us not too long to come up with these good-sized vinyl banners that on them it said, welcome diversity, choose harmony, and show kindness. Now, over the past 2 years, we've ordered over 200 of these, and we've given them all away. They were for free. They've been, every once in a while, I see them on the back roads of Newport and Pend Oreille County. They went to Chicago, they went to Portland, they went to Seattle. I had brought some here to the Abbey, and I gave them away. And it's just this, we wanted people who drove through our little town here, through our community, to think that there was a kindness here, that there was a welcoming kind of feeling. So when we reconnected last week, and feeling kind of tender with Geshe-la gone, I was like, should I go? Should I not go? I said, yes, you're going to go. And I went over to the group, much smaller, and we had 3 new people who came from Spokane who wanted to check our little group out. And so in the process of the meeting, we decided one of the ways that we could revive and refresh this group's interfaith practice was to put together another banner. They were so successful, and we just loved doing them. It was just a real connecting for the group. But we came, and we had these 3 new people. Their faith is more from the Indian culture. I haven't quite figured out what it is. It was only our first time meeting them. But we all came to the conclusion that this time around, there's just a lot more, things are even more divided. There's more suffering. There's more hostility. We're talking past each other. We're talking over each other. We're not listening. And our politicians, it's become pretty much performance art. There's no substance. There's just a lot of performance for coverage or whatever. And we realized that we needed to have more sensitivity, that there was, like, that banner just flew off. It just took off. But we said that the world is just, because of impermanence, it's just got a lot more of a different tone to it. And that we wanted the language, that the words we were going to use, we wanted to make sure they had, and it was a very interesting process, that they didn't have any any possibility being interpreted as some military construct or a political construct or a war connotation. It couldn't be a word that was really complex, like try to figure, put up there. We can't put transcendence on it. We can't put transformation on it. I mean, there are words that our folks in this community would kind of go, huh? So we wanted to be to keep the words fear and fight to us and to make it sound like it has demands on people. If you want to connect with us, this is what you got to do. And for me, I didn't agree with some of the levels of caution, but I really wanted to respect that there was quite a diverse sense of how this sign should be presented. And one of the things that was very interesting that I really had to let go of is that we had thought 2 years ago that we weren't going to use the colors red, white, and blue. That would keep us out of the political arena, probably. So I was thinking things like lilac and maybe a nice raspberry pink, a beautiful chartreuse green, something that's bright and uplifting. And one of the elder gentlemen, he must have been in his 70s, said, they might think that LGBTQ might be hanging up these banners, so I think we might not want to do those colors. I had not even thought about that. But having someone who's lived in the community that long, he said that might be something that could be misconstrued. So we finally figured out something that would be a practice regardless of religion, ethnicity, political views, what kind of worldview or culture, something that would be doable for the folks who would see this sign. And so as we were going through this process and looking back on that day, which we all felt was an extremely deep little gathering, is that banner has become a very personal thing for me. It has become in a much bigger perspective. And this is what I really want to share, is that this community is riding on this incredible wave of kindness from the bigger community at large. Our Ponderay County community, our sheriffs, our search and rescue, local folks, the churches, the medical facilities, they are all totally tuned into us and really giving us all their love and all their kindness. And it's not just about, Geshe-la missing. This is something that 20 years ago when Venerable moved here, it was Venerable Tarpa and I, that she had a directive. She said, anytime you go into town, I want you to show respect. I want you to show maitri, loving kindness, warm-heartedness. I want you to be grateful and set an intentional motivation cultivated to the larger community every time you go in and engage. You want to be respectful, warm, kind, accepting, appreciative. And I think my personal feeling is the response that we are getting from this community is the fruit of those 20 years of engaging with this community. It's a very conservative, Christian, Republican community, and it has been over the top on how it has loved and come and gathered around us. And I think it's because of Venerable's directive 20 years ago that said, this is what we want to bring to this community. So it took us about an hour and a half to come up with something. Taking out the words that didn't work, the colors that didn't work, the demand energy. And that it would also meet our own spiritual needs as far as what each of us needed to grow. So as far as I know, unless it's changed, be humble, listen deeply, and give compassion. And we've given it to Sandy. I don't know what color she's chosen. I'm going to trust Sandy. She's a really wise woman. And I know it's going to be beautiful. And I'm going to bring a whole bunch up here to the Abbey that we can give to our friends. But what I'm thinking, as I think about Geshe-la, wherever he is and what's going on and how he's doing, he would be really, really happy about this. And I think he would say, whatever's going on, make sure that everybody continues to generate bodhicitta, continue to generate loving kindness, to practice warm-heartedness, and to bring our good hearts and bodhicitta into the world, and to not stop because he's not here. And so as we were going through that and thinking about this sign and thinking about my commitment to this little community and how the larger community has come back to really hold us in love, it really does all the things that the sign, I'm hoping and praying that it continues to just nourish this feeling of community. And as Venerable Pema has said, that the two guys that she had been doing some of the searching with when they were here last week, they were bushwhacking, and she said she had these two big guys on either side of her. They were wearing fatigues, hunting outfits, and big knives in their pockets. And they had come 80 miles from, I think, Colville, took off work, volunteered to come and search and rescue. And she said, why are you doing this? Why did you come out here? And they said, well, we really believe in community. And if we don't step up to the plate and support our community when horrible things like this happen, why bother to be in community? And these were the people that were doing the search and rescue. So I wanted to share that what's going on, this tender place that we're all in right now, here and afar, is that to remind us that the Dharma, that loving kindness, the bodhicitta, is the thread that connects us to Geshe-la, connects us to each other, connects us to the wider world, irregardless of what faith we are, irregardless of what our political views are. There is a commonality that I deeply believe it gets cultivated. We need to model it, and we really need to bring it alive in our hearts. And it's been a great balm for my mind in the past 2 weeks. And so I'm looking forward to getting the signs. I'll bring one up and show everybody once it gets here. And I just really strongly feel that this is very much connected to our whole process now, dealing with impermanence of the not knowing, but to know that the ground in which we stand on is loving kindness and bodhicitta, and that it impacts the world no matter how small the way it does. It really does impact the world.